Okay, we're ready to get started. We're going to be learning Maseches Shabbos, Daf Kaf Daled. Sorry, just a little bit of background noise. I'm going to mute you, but feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. We are going to be learning Maseches Shabbos, Daf Kaf Daled tonight, and that will bring us past the Mishnah on Daf Kaf Daled Amud Beis, and Yirtzeh Hashem, we'll be able to pick up with a full sugya of that next Gemara starting tomorrow night. And tonight we're starting on the bottom of Kaf Gimel Amud Beis at the two dots, the Lo B'Shem and Sreifa. We had learned in our Mishnah at the opening of the second parak of Parak Bamim Madlikin, discussing all the shmanim and all of the psilos that are not fit for use for Shabbos Kodesh. And one of them was V'lo B'Shem and Sreifa. So asks the Gemara, my Shem and Sreifa. What exactly is Shem and Sreifa? Amar Rabba, Shemen Shel Truma Shenitma'a. It is the oil of Truma that became Tmeya. So, okay, but like that's not burnt yet. So why are you calling it Shemen Sreifa? If it was burnt, it wouldn't be Shemen anymore. And if it wasn't burnt, why are you calling it Shemen Sreifa? Manavshach, the language doesn't make any sense. So the Gemara says, Ve'amai karula Shemen Sreifa. Why are you calling it burnt if it wasn't burnt yet? And to this, the Gemara answers, Hoel ula Sreifa omed. The reason why we call it burnt is because it is slated to be burnt. Okay. Ubishabbos my time alo. Why is it that we have a restriction on using this over the course of Hadlakas Neros for Shabbos to be Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbos? Who cares? Why wouldn't we be able to use this? It's not like there's a pigam in it. It's regular oil, but it's just tmeya. It says the Gemara mitoch shemitzvah halav levaro gezera shemayate. Because once truma becomes tmeya, now there's a mitzvah to be mavaer that. So under those circumstances, we're then concerned that because there's a mitzvah to be soref, that you're going to be shemayata. We're afraid you might tilt the container that's holding this shemen sreifa in order to burn it. Rashi here points out shemayata, 6 lines from the bottom, shemayata kadeshi isba'er maher, that it will burn quickly because you're azaris. You're trying to do the mitzvah in the best possible way. Therefore, shemen sreifa is a problem. Asks the Gemara a beautiful, simple, but wonderful question. If it's true that your concern is shemayate on Shabbos, but then we should definitely allow this to be lit. It should be allowed to be used for the Hadlakas Neros for Yontif. As we know famously from the Mishnayos and Maseches Megillah, Ein bein Shabbos liyom tov ela meleches ochel nefesh bilvad. The only difference between the malachos, the 39 malachos that apply to Shabbos, and the malachos that apply to Yontif is that there are a handful of malachos. There's a machlokas rishonim how many malachos we are lenient on during Yontif, but one of them is certainly havara. You can wake up Yontif morning as long as it's not Shabbos, and if your fire is already on, you can crack up some pancakes for the kids. That's totally fine. If that's the case, then since lighting a fire is totally fine, then maybe we should be able to use shemen sreifa on Yontif, because after all, the only concern of using shemen sreifa by Shabbos is that once it's already Shabbos, because there's a mitzvah to be mava'er, the oil, I may come to tilt the container. So that's the Gemara's question here. Elamayata Yom Tov Lishtare should be permissible. Alama Tanan, if it is true that it should be permissible on Yom Tov, then Alama Tanan, why does it say in the Mishnah, Ein Madlikin b'Shemen Sreifa b'Yom Tov? We say this in Parak Bama Madlikin. Why does it say that? It shouldn't say that. It should be permissible. Why is it that it should not be allowed on Yom Tov? Answers the Gemara. You're right. In logic, it should be, but we have a gzeira. Gzeira Yom Tov atu Shabbos. The reason why we don't allow it on Yom Tov is because it's really not a drastic difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov as it relates to people's perceptions. And we're concerned that a person may accidentally perceive Shabbos as Yom Tov, and even though it may be true that logically it should be permissible on Yom Tov, we're afraid that you may make an inappropriate jump to Shabbos and use the Shemen Sreifa there as well. So therefore, we don't allow the use of it on Shabbos or Yom Tov because of Shabbos. That's approach number 1 in the Gemara, and this is attributed to Rabbi. In the same generation, 4th generation of Amoraim, Rav Chizda Amar, l'shemayata lo chayshinan. Absolutely not. We're not concerned about shemayata. Okay, so then why is shemen sreifa not allowed? Answers the Gemara, elahacha b'yom tov shechalios erev Shabbos oskinan. We're dealing with a day of Yom Tov that is erev Shabbos. Lefi she'ein sorfin kodshim b'yom tov. Even kodshim that is now tameh, the halacha is that we are not allowed to be sorev kodshim. And that, this ukimta is very important. We're going to question it shortly. Really what we're saying is that if you were to look back on Daf Kaf Amud Beis at our Mishnah says only the language of the Lo B'Shem and Sreifa with no context. And here, Rav Chizda is making a nukimta that when our Mishnah on Daf Kaf Amud Beis, the first Mishnah on Bama Madlikin says Ve'ein Madlikin Mishem and Sreifa, that he's talking about Yontif that happens to be Erev Shabbos. Okay, so then says the Gemara, but wait a minute. We have a Mishnah coming up today. We'll learn it on the next Amud. The first line of that Mishnah says, Ein Madlikin Mishem and Sreifa B'Yom Tov. So asks the Gemara a beautiful logical question. But Mitakatani Seifa, but the next Mishnah that we're going to learn on Kaf Daled Amud Beis, what does it say over there? Ein Madlikin Mishem and Sreifa B'Yom Tov. But Rav Chizda, you just said that our Mishnah on Daf Kaf Amud Beis is talking about Yontif. That was your Ukimta. So if that's the case, then Michlal dereisha la b'Yom Tov haskinan. If the Mishnah on Kaf Daled Amud Beis is talking about Yontif, and that's the din of that Mishnah on Kaf Daled Amud Beis, and Rav Chizda, you can't say that the Mishnah on Kaf Amud Beis is talking about the same thing. Then you're being duplicitous. That doesn't make any sense. Amar of Chanina Misura, Matam Ka'amar. This is a type of logic referred to as Matam, just like the reason, or something along those lines. How does the Matam play out here? Says the Gemara as follows, last line, Kavakim Alamud Beis. Matam e Malikim Hashem and Sreifa B'Yom Tov. What is the reason why in our Mishnah on Kaf Amud Beis, Rav Chizda created this Ukimta to teach us that you are not allowed to light Shem and Sreifa when Yontif falls out on Erev Shabbos? Answers the Gemara with the next Mishnah on Kaf Daled Amud Beis. Lefisha Ein Sarfin Kachim B'Yom Tov. The two Mishnayos are meant to work in tandem. Rav Chizda was not being duplicitous. He was teaching one din. It just took two Mishnayos to teach the din. And this Shita of Rav Chizda is going to now be supported by a Bryce. So turning to the top of Kaf Daled Amud Aleph, Tanya Kavase de Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda taught us the following din. Kol Elu She'amru ein madlikim behen b'Shabbos madlikim behen b'Yom Tov chutz mishem and sreifa lefisha ein sarfin kachim b'Yom Tov. Beautiful. This Bryce now supports Rav Chizda very clearly. And how does it do so? Because it says exactly this case. What is something that you're not allowed to light in this particular case, that you're not allowed to light on Shabbos or on Yontif? And the answer was Shem and Sreifa, for the same logic that we just saw. Lefisha ein sarfin kachim b'Yom Tov. Beautiful. That brings us to the two dots here. Sikum hadvarim. We have learned that the Mishnah on Kaf Amud Beis, when it says that Ein Madlikim B'Sreifa is talking about Yontif and Erev Shabbos, the Mishnah on Kaf Daled teaches us that you're not allowed to light. You're not allowed to light with Shem and Sreifa and Yontif, and both of them are teaching the same din. It's two peas in a pot, and that's basically how we're supposed to look at this din of Ein Madlikim B'Sreifa. And let's get started with the next two dots. Top of Kaf Daled Amud Aleph, about 4 lines down. Ibaya lehu ma'u lahaskir shel Chanukah b'Birkas Hamazon. We are back. We're learning Hilchos Chanukah yet again. And the question of the Gemara here is like this. Do we say Al Hanisim in Birkas Hamazon? And here is the two possibilities, the Chakira of the Gemara. Do we say Kevan Midirabananhu Lomad Kirinan, that since Be'etzem Chanukah is only Midirabanan, therefore Lomad Kirinan, we don't make mention of the fact that today is Chanukah. Remember, benching is Deoraisa. You're not allowed to just interject into benching with whatever you feel like. So there has to be a very good reason why you're interjecting. Is a derabanan, such as Chanukah, enough of a reason to break into benching? Yes or no? O Dilma, or perhaps Mishum Pirsume Nisa Mad Karinan, or maybe because, yes, it's a din derabanan, but it's a very unique din derabanan that highlights the nisim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, and therefore we can intercept and we can interrupt with al hanisim. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Sechora, Amar Rav Huna, Eino Mazkir. They were of the opinion that you do not interrupt benching with that. But it's true that you don't interrupt, but you could if you wanted to. V'im ba lehaz here, mazkir behoda. That if a person would want to, they would be allowed to. And where should they say the al hanisim in benching? It should be said in the bracha of hoda, which of course is the bracha of nodeh, the second benching, which is where we say it. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikla lebei Rava. Rav Huna, the son of Yehuda, went up to visit with Rava. Savar le'ad kure bebone Yerushalayim. And he wanted to say it in the middle of the bracha of Bone Yerushalayim. Obviously, the logic is in place. Where did this tragedy take place? And where did the Nisim take place? It took place in Yerushalayim. And therefore, it was considered reasonable to say it there. Nevertheless, Amar Lahu Rav Sheshes, the Hagos V'Tzionim corrects this because the dialogue was between Rava and Rav Huna, and it corrects this to Rava. If you look on the side, Os Katan Aleph, Biksav Yadav Rishonim, Amar Le Rava. It should not say Rav Sheshes, so let's read according to the correction. Amar Lahu, Rava said back to him, you're trying to say it in Boni Yerushalayim, you're saying it in the wrong place. It should be Kitfila, just like we have it in davening. Ma tefillah behodah, just like in Shmona Esrei, when you say Al Hanisim, it is said in the bracha of Hodah, the bracha of Modim, Af Birkas Hamazon behodah. That is exactly how we paskin, that when we do say Al Hanisim, and we should say Al Hanisim, of course, both in benching and in davening, but that which we say in benching should be said like it's said in tefillah, like in davening, and just like we say Al Hanisim in Hodah, so too we say Al Hanisim in Hodah of Birkas Hamazon, which is the bracha of No Delacha, and of course we paskin that way. And obviously, if one forgets to say Al Hanisim, the halacha is that we do not repeat either Shmona Esrei or Birkas Hamazon. 2 dots, about 12 lines down. Ibayalahu. A little bit of a jump, but we will see that soon connected. Ibayalahu. Ma'u lahazkir Rosh Chodesh bebirkas Hamazon. We just said that there was a machlokes amoraim. Do you say Al Hanisim in benching? So the Gemara takes a question to another area. Do we say Ya'aleh v'yavo? Are we mazkir Rosh Chodesh in Birkas Hamazon? Im tim salomar b'Chanukah derabanan lo tzarich. If you want to argue like the shita that said that by Chanukah is a din derabanan, and by that din we do not say Al Hanisim lo tzarich. Maybe Rosh Chodesh deoraisa tzarich. One side of the equation is that maybe we should definitely be saying it by Rosh Chodesh. Why? Because if the reason why the Amoraim who held you don't say Al Hanisim by Chanukah in benching, if they're saying it's because it's derabanan, well, Rosh Chodesh is a status of deraisa. That's one side. Odilma, perhaps kevan delo asur be'asiyas malacha lo mazkarinan, or maybe Rosh Chodesh doesn't have an isur malacha woven into it, and therefore lo mazkarinan. What is at the heart of this chakira in the Gemara? Very simple. At the heart of this chakira in the Gemara is, what is the reason that we would add something like Ya'aleh v'yavo? Is it because of Isser Malacha, or is it because of the status of the day? If it's because of the status of the day, maybe we should say it. Rosh Chodesh is a din d'oraisa. If it's because of Isser Malacha, there is no Isser Malacha on Rosh Chodesh. So that's the Gemara's question. And here, Rav Amar Maskir, Rav Chanina Amar Eino Maskir Machlokes, in the very, very, very early Amoraim, again, Rav 1st century, a Talmud of Rabbi in some capacity, and he says you are maskir. The dissenting opinion of Rav Chanina was that you are not maskir. Amar Rav Zerika says, Nekot de Rav v'yadcha, grab onto the opinion of Rav in your bare hands. Dekoi Rav Oshia Kavase. Rav Oshia was one of the authors of the Tosefta. So whenever you see the following words, Detani Rav Oshia, if you then look up in the Mesoras Hashas, you will see there that it says that this is a Tosefta. That is because Rav Oshia, who was a very early Amora as well, Rav Oshia was the author of the Toseftas, and I don't mean the author in that he was the one who decided every psak in the Tosefta, but he was the one who collected them. Much like Rav Yehuda Hanasi collected Mishnayos, so too Rav Oshia compiled the Tosefta, and separately Bar Kapara and Levi, they collected all of the Brisas and wove them into the Gemara the way we have. So that Rav Zerika said, everyone grab onto the shita of Rav. What was the shita of Rav that we are mazkir? What are we mazkir? We say Ya'aleh v'yavo in benching. Okay, what's his proof? Rav Oshia, long brisa. We'll get to the punchline soon. It's about an 8 or 9 line brisa, and Tosefta, excuse me. Let's get through it. Yomim sheish b'hem korban musaf kegon Rosh Chodesh v'cholo shel moed. On the days when we have a korban musaf, days like Rosh Chodesh and days like cholo shel moed, on all of the Shmona Esreis of that day, Arbis Shachris v'Mincha Mispalo Shmona Esrei ve'Omer me'ein ha'me'ora ba'avoda. There we say a regular Shmona Esrei, contrasting with what would have been a Shalosh Regalim Shmona Esrei. Namely, yes, there's a Korban Musaf that day, but this aspect of Chol HaMoed is Chol. We treat it like a weekday Shmona Esrei. You just add in me'ein ha'me'ora, you add in the Ya'aleh v'yavo of the particular Chag. The Omer me'ein ha'me'ora ba'avoda, and the bracha of Ritzei, which is referred to as the bracha of the Avoda. So there we add in Ya'aleh v'yavo. And if you leave out the Ya'aleh v'yavo, you're obligated to repeat that Shemona Esrei. On those intermediary days, which have a Korban Musaf but don't have Isser Malacha, although really there are aspects of Chol HaMoed which could have an Isser Malacha, not everything is mutter. The Shulchan Aruch there in Hilchos Chol HaMoed depict a number of leniencies that we rely upon, but everything else is Asr. There is a book out, I have it on the shelf behind me, by Rabbi Francis about the halachos of Chol HaMoed. I believe it was put out by Art Scroll. It is mamash a chiyuv for everyone to read that book. It is so easy to violate Isurei D'Oraisa potentially, according to some Rishonim, the Mishnah Brura, in the halachos of Chol HaMoed goes through the chakira of whether or not within the Rishonim, whether or not the Isser Malacha of Chol HaMoed is D'Oraisa or D'Rabbanan. Even if it's D'Rabbanan, we should be extremely careful. Can you polish your shoes? Can you write with a pen? Ksiva during Chol HaMoed is a whole sugya in Shulchan Aruch. It's a very complex area of halacha. Everyone should try before Pesach to try to even just glance at the table of contents. The halachos of Chol HaMoed are very complex. Nevertheless, here it's very clear. There's no kiddush on that day. Be'ein bahen kedusha ala kos on Chol HaMoed, and as well on Rosh Chodesh there's no kiddush. V'yesh bahen haskara bebirkas hamazon. This was the din that Rav Oshia taught. That Rav Zerika said we should therefore follow Rav. What did Rav say? Say Yalav Yavo in Birkas Hamazon, based on this line. Continues the Bryce. So we are the Tosefta. We already have what we need, but we'll finish the Tosefta. Yomim she'ein bahen korban musaf. Days that don't have the korban musaf, but that are not regular days, such as Kegon Sheni vechamishi, Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays are holier than Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We'll have to see what this means in a minute. B'tainios and fast days, u'ma'amados. What are ma'amados? So really, when a person would bring a korban in the Beis Hamikdash, if I was bringing a private korban, let's say I'm bringing a korban chatas, I did an avera b'shogeg, and I'm obligated to bring a korban. So I go to the Beis Hamikdash. I have to be there present, and I have to stand when they are taking care of my korban. What about the korbanos shel tzibor? So there we don't. No one's coming to the Beis Hamikdash every single morning for the korban tamid shel shachar and in the afternoon for korban tamid shel ben harbaim. We're not doing that. So they created ma'amados, which was shifts of people who would be there during the korbanos shel tzibor and stand up, and that's what this is a reference to, the ma'amados, those who would stand. I asked the Gemara, wait a minute, sheni v'chamishi, ma'avid tahu, what's so special? Kriyas HaTorah? That day is more elevated in its inherent kedusha because it's a Monday or a Thursday. Ella, the Gemara fixes the Tosefta. Sheni v'chamishi v'sheni shel tiny yosu ma'amados. It's bahab. It's those 3 days that follow a tiny tzibor, where the Monday, Thursday, and Monday that follow have slichos, and they are days that are subject to tinios. That is what this brisa, the Tosefta, sorry, I keep mixing them up. That is what the Tosefta is referring to here when it says sheni v'chamishi v'sheni. We actually had a hint to this. If you look one line up, you'll see the word v'sheni is in parentheses. You can see the Gemara, some of the edits to correct this Gemara already snuck its way in after the word chamishi here. Nevertheless, the Tosefta here continues. Sheni v'chamishi v'sheni shel tiny ma'amados arvis v'shachris u'mincha mispal shmon esrei v'omer me'ein ha'ma'ora. You do say al v'yavo. You do say anenu on fast days. This me'ein ha'ma'ora is that it's a fast day. V'shomei tefila v'im lo amar ein machzirno. So if you forget anenu, no big deal. Last din ve'ein bahen haskara bebirkas hamazon. If a person were to have to eat on a tainus, the halacha is that he would not have to say any reference to anenu in his benching. That happens all the time. I don't fast on many fast days. I get terrible headaches if I don't eat. So Rabbi Friedman paskin for me that mine is Tisha B'av and Yom Kippur. I really don't have to fast. And on those days, if I eat and bench, I don't say any anenu references at all. Masha'en kain. If a person, for example, would have a chiyuv to eat on Yom Kippur and to eat bread, they presumably would say the bracha with yalav yavo. 2 dots, 2/3 of the way down. Ibayalahu. Mal lahaskir shel Chanukah b'musafin. Fascinating. There will be at least 2 days during any Hanukkah, possibly more, at least 2 days where there is Musaf. Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos could have 2 Shabboses. And on those days, there's Musaf. Do we say Al Hanisim in Musaf? Do we say, here's the Chakir of the Gemara, Kevan de les be Musaf b'didei lomad karina. Do we say that Musaf isn't tied to Hanukkah? Hanukkah is a din derabanan. You can't have a korban musaf on a mitzvah derabanan. That's ridiculous. You can only have a korban musaf with their psukim in the Torah that obligate you to a korban musaf, like Rosh Chodesh and like Yontif and like Shabbos. So Hanukkah, for sure, there's no korban musaf tethered to Hanukkah. So therefore, maybe not lomad karinan. We would not mention al hanisim and musaf on Hanukkah. O dilma, or perhaps yom hu shechayev be'arba tfilos, or maybe be'etzem. That day of Hanukkah has 4 Shmona Esreis. Every minute of that day is Hanukkah. And therefore, even though Musaf is really not tied to Hanukkah, but because Be'etzem the day is Hanukkah, so all the Shmona Esreis fall under that umbrella of Hanukkah. And then even by Musaf, we would say Al Hanisim. This is a Machlokas Amoraim, Rav Huna v'Rav Yehuda da'amrei tarbayu eno maskir. This first pair of Amoraim say that we do not have to say Al Hanisim in Musaf on Hanukkah. Rav Nachman v'Rav Yochanan da'amrei tarvahu mazkir, they do hold that we do. Of course, we paskin this way that you do say them during Musaf. Let's get into the kishkas of this sugya. Amar Abai Rav Yosef, ha de Rav Huna v'Rav Yehuda de Ravhu. Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, who 2 lines above said Eino mazkir, they said you do not have to say Al Hanisim and Musaf on Chanukah. That really emanates from the Shita of Rav. What did Rav say? To Amar Rav Gidol Amar Rav. Rosh Chodesh shechalios b'Shabbos. When Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, hamaftir benavi b'Shabbos. When a person is making the brachos for the Haftorah, he got the maftir aliyah, and he's making the brachos for the Haftorah. Eino tzarech lahazkir shel Shabbos. Eino tzarech lahazkir shel Rosh Chodesh. If you're closing out that bracha mikadesh haShabbos, you don't have to say mikadesh haShabbos v'roshei chodashim, whatever the bracha would be. You don't have to add that in. So the Gemara here presents a logic. She'el male Shabbos, if not for the fact that it was Shabbos, a navi b'Rosh Chodesh. We don't read a navi on Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, Rav says that there's no bracha by the maftir on Rosh Chodesh that falls out on Shabbos, and maybe we should make a tzushtel and apply the same logic here, that just like by Chanukah, therefore it's the same thing, that this pair of Amoraim held Eino Maskir, we don't say Al Hanisim by Musaf on Chanukah. Maybe this is like the Shita of Rav as well. Says the Gemara, Mi dummy, how could you possibly compare these two cases? Hasam, by the case where Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, Navi bid Rosh Chodesh like a cloud. There's never a case scenario where we have Haftarah on a case on a day when it's Rosh Chodesh. Hacha, but in our case, where we're asking the question of whether or not one is obligated to say Al Hanisim by Musaf on Chanukah, there we do have a precedent to say Al Hanisim. What is it? It's simple. It's all the three other Shmona Esreis of the day. Hacha isei ve'arbis v'shachris v'mincha. By Chanukah, 3 out of the 4 Shmona Esreis on that day already have Al Hanisim. Much more of an argument to say that we should say it there. Therefore, the Gemara outright rejects this comparison between the case of our question, which was whether or not you say Al Hanisim by Musaf on Chanukah, versus the case of Rav, which is Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos, because by Rosh Chodesh on Shabbos there is no precedent. And here in our case, there is a precedent, which is the other 3 Shmona Esreis. Says the Gemara, Ella, it must be they actually had intended to compare to a different case of Rav. Ella lahadamya. Really, it's comparable only to another case of Rav. Amar Rav Achdevoy, Amar Rav Masne, Amar Rav Yom Tov Shechalios b'Shabbos, a day when Yontif and Shabbos coincide. Hamaftir ben Navi b'Mincha b'Shabbos, one who would read Haftarah by Mincha on Shabbos. Take a quick look at Rashi for a very, very, very important historical aspect of something that happened with the Jewish people, and even a stranger result. Rashi says, 10 lines from the bottom of the Rashis, Hamaftir benavi b'mincha b'Shabbos, matzati v'tshuvos ha'geonim. Rashi says he found in the Chuvos of the Gaonim. Rashi lived in the 1100s. The Gaonim were in the 8 and 900s. Rav Hai Gaon, Rav Shri Gaon, they all lived around that time, around the 8 or 900s. Matzati v'shuvas hagonim shahayu regilim likros benavi b'shabbasos b'mincha asara psukim. There used to be a custom in Klal Yisrael that by Shabbos mincha they would do haftarah of 10 psukim. Ubimei parsiim, in the times of the Persians, gazru gzera shelo la'asos. Here the Hagos V'Tzionim adds in the word kain, shelo la'asos kain, and this is the strangest part. The kevan shenistalku nistalku. And since we stopped saying Haftarah by Mincha on Shabbos, we therefore no longer say it on Shabbos. I don't know why that's the case. I did not look into the history books here or the other Meforshim, the other Rishonim to see why this is the case, or even within the Gaonim. But nevertheless, that is what the Gemara here is referencing. So let's get back to our case. Remember, we're comparing our case of the 2 Amoraim who say that you do not have to say Al Hanisim on a Musaf on Chanukah to the following case. The case is Yom Tov Shechalios b'Shabbos, and when one is saying Maftir benavi b'mincha b'Shabbos, in that Haftarah by Shabbos mincha ein tzarich lahazkir shel Yom Tov. There on that mincha you don't have to say the bracha of shel Yom Tov, the Karesh Shabbos v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim, whatever it is. There we don't have to add that. Shel Malei Shabbos ein navi b'mincha b'Yom Shabbos. This is a much better logic because at least both on Yom Tov and on Shabbos there is a precedence of saying Haftarah. That makes it much more comparable. Nevertheless, the Gemara rejects all of this as we turn to the top of Daf Kafei Amud Beis, and we say V'leis hilchasa b'chol hani shmaitasa. All of these comparisons of the Shita of the Amoraim who holds that we don't say Al Hanisim in Musaf on Chanukah, and the possible comparisons to cases of Rav, none of it is actually a good example. We hold like none of them. Give me just one moment, please. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihya bidbaro. Says the Gemara that Shita of Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda and the comparative cases of Rav So we don't paskin like any of them. Ella. We have a real Mare Makom to answer about Hanukkah from Yom Kippur. Here's the case. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Yom Kippurim shechalios b'Shabbos, hamispalel ne'ilah tzarich lahaskir shel Shabbos. When Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, when a person is davening ne'ilah, they're halachically obligated to mention Shabbos on Yom Kippur during their Shmona Esrei. Yom hu shenischayev be'arba tfilos. It is the day that be'etzem, wired into the day, it is Yom Kippur and Shabbos, and therefore, even though we're only saying the Ne'ilah because of Yom Kippur, but because the whole day be'etzem is Shabbos too, we therefore weave in the additions of Shabbos into the Ne'ilah Shmona Esrei. And this is perfect for the Shita that we quoted earlier, not the dissenting opinion, but the Shita that we saw in the previous Amud of Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan, that we do say Yala v'Yavo by Musaf, even though Musaf is not a din in Chanukah, but because all the other Shmona Esreis are be'etzem part of Chanukah, and we say Al Anisim in those, so therefore we learn from Yom Kippur Shechalios b'Shabbos that in the case of Chanukah, when we're saying Musaf, that we should say Al Anisim there as well. Very, very clear. That's how the Gemara answers. However, the Gemara then presents itself with a contradiction. Not in what we learned. In what we learned, that aspect is clear that we're obligated to say Al Hanisim and Musaf for Chanukah. What's the question? Kasha Hilchasa Hilchasa. I have two psukim that don't match. The first is this one. Amrist Hilchasa Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the halacha that we just learned, that on Yom Kippur Shechalios b'Shabbos, that one is obligated to add in Shabbos, even though Ne'ilah is not typically said on your average Shabbos. And also, what is the conflicting din? The Kaimal on Hilchasa Rava. We paskin like Rava in another sugya. How do we paskin like Rava? To Omar Rava, Yom Tov Shechalios b'Shabbos, when Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, Shliach Tzibor hayored lifnei hateva. When a Shliach Tzibor on Friday night, that is Yom Tov and Shabbos, Rashi, very important Rashi. I did not know what the Gemara was talking about without Rashi. Rashi, 7 lines down. Tzibor hamaschil, Shliach Tzibor hayored arbis, hamispalel birchas me'ein sheva, konei shamayim va'aretz, magen avos bidvaro. Our custom that we have after Vaychulu, we say Magen Avos Bidbaro, we say that paragraph. So that was what the Gemara is talking about. And here, Yom Tov Shechalios, back in the Gemara, Yom Tov Shechalios B'Shabbos Shliach Tzibur Hayor Lifnei Teva Arvis, and when he's saying Magen Avos, Eino Tzarech Lahazkir Shel Yom Tov. When we close out that paragraph, we just say Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos. But that's a conflict. If you just said the din of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, that when Yom Tov and Shabbos fall out, when Yom Kippur and Shabbos fall out, and Ne'ilah, we add in Shabbos into the Ne'ilah, Afal Pi, that really there is no Ne'ilah on your average Shabbos, only when it's Yom Kippur that falls out on Shabbos. Why here would Rava say differently that when Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, and we say Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, we don't have to add in Yom Tov? That's a stira. Rabbi Yeshua says we add in Shabbos into the seemingly unnecessary space of Ne'ilah. Rava says we don't add in Yom Tov. That doesn't make sense. It's Kasha Hilchasa Hilchasa. She'el Male Shabbos ain't Shliach Tzibur Yored Arbis B'Yom Tov. There's no reason why we would have ever said this in the first place. Answers the Gemara, Hachi Hashta. What in the world is your comparison, Bichlal? Hasam, by the din of Rava, where Rava said that when we say Magen Avos, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos, and we don't have to add in Yom Tov. Hasam b'din hu de'afilu b'Shabbos nami lo tzarich. The whole institution of saying Magen Avos be'etzem wasn't required. We said it as the Rishonim here point out. The Gemara here points out the concept. The Rishonim in detail. The Rabbanan hu detakune mishum sakana. It wasn't really a part of Friday night davening. The Chachamim added in the bracha of Magen Avos in order to give some cushion time for people to daven. And also a very important historical Rashi. Take a look at Rashi Mishum Sakanas, the one after the one we just saw, 10 or so lines down in the Rashis. Mishum Sakanas Mazikin Shalohayu Bate Knesios Shalahen B'Yishuv. Their Bate Knesios back in the day were not in settled areas around people's homes like we have it here. The Chol Sha'ar Leile Hachol, 6 nights of the week. For us right now it's 7. For them, 6 nights of the week, Hayu Asukin B'Malachton, they would go to work. Uvigmaran, when they'd finish working Malachton, Mispalul and Arbis Bevesan, they would daven at home. They would daven Marav at home. The Lohayu Bain Bevesa Knesses, and they would not go to Shul on your average weeknight. Presumably this relies on the Shita that Tfilas Arvis is a Rishus. Okay, let's continue. Avalele Shabbos Bain Bevesa Knesses, on Friday nights, people would go to Shul. V'chashu sheyesh she'ein memaharin lavo. There were some people who would daven their Shmona Esrei a drop slower. V'shoen la'achar tefillah. Lekach, therefore, because they were davening longer, he'erichu tefillas hatzibor, they would lengthen davening by adding in the bracha of Magen Avos. So it says the Gemara, you can't compare the case of Rava to the case of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi because the Etzem Rava's case was not even required. Saying Magen Avos is not a requirement. That's why under certain circumstances, if we're davening at home, for example, we would not say it on a Friday night by ourselves at home. Seemingly that would be the case because it's not technically a requirement. We only say it for the sake of the tzibur. So therefore, you can't compare those cases. Let's just read the whole svara inside. Hasam by Rava b'dinu de'afilu b'Shabbos nami lo tzarich. Really, the bracha of Magen Avos wasn't required even on Shabbos. V'Rabbanan hu dedakuni mishum sakana. But here by the din of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the case that we started with to answer our question about saying Al Nisim by Musaf on Chanukah, Aval Hacha, Yom Hu Shenischai of Arba Tfilos. It's be'etzem the day of Shabbos / Yom Kippur that requires us to daven, and therefore we would actually say both the Yom Kippur closure and the Shabbos closure within the Baruch Atah Hashem endings, the Chasimos of the Brachos on Yom Kippur. One more sugya and one Mishnah for tonight. Here we go. A little bit aliyah. We said that you cannot use a tail. So if you look back in the Mishnah that we learned, it said v'lo ba'aliyah, and then the Chachamim said echad mevushal ve'echad she'enu mevushal ein madlikin bo. But we already said v'lo ba'aliyah. So what do you mean ein madlikin bo? The Chachamim seem like the same sheets of the Tanakama, and that's what the Gemara asks. Says the Gemara, Chachamim hainu Tanakama. You're replicating yourself. Why does the Mishnah have the sheet of the Chachamim and the Tanakama? Don't say the same thing twice. Answers the Gemara, no, there is a difference between them. Ika beinaihu de Rav Baruna amar Rav. The difference between them is the sheet of Rav Baruna. This is a din that we already learned. Take a look at Rashi just to the left of us to remind us what Rav Baruna said. Rav Baruna said, remember we talked about the chelev mehutach, the completely melted fats, and we said if you add shemen into them, Rav Baruna says it's mutter to then use for hadlaka. So Rashi reminds us of that here, de Rav Baruna, de shari al yidei ta'arova shemen kolshu. You add in a little bit of wine, a little bit of shemen, a little bit of oil, then you can use that. And that's what the Gemara says is the difference between the Tanakama and the Chachamim. V'lo mesaime. What does v'lo mesaime mean? So take a look at the last Rashi before the Mishnah. Ein nikar mi oser mi mater. We don't know who between the Tanakama and the Chachamim who hold of Rav Baruna and who don't. We don't know. But nevertheless, that would be a very reasonable distinction between those two possible shitos. Let's learn the next Mishnah. Ein madlikin b'shemen tzreifa b'yom tov. We already learned about this din in the Gemara in the previous Amud. Rabbi Shmuel Omer ein madlikin bi'itran mitnei kvod haShabbos. We learned that itrana in Aramaic was the psolas de zephes. It was the byproduct of pitch or tar, and it had a terrible smell to it. So Rabbi Shmuel says it's usher mipnei kvod haShabbos. It's not mechuba to light in your house candles that smell terrible. It's not nice. V'chachamim matirin b'chol hashmanim. The Chachamim said you can light with any kind of oils. B'shemen shum shemen, with sesame seed oil, b'shemen agozim, with oil that's extracted from nuts, b'shemen sononos, oil that's extracted from radishes, b'shemen dagim, fish oil, b'shemen pakuos, oil that's extracted from a gourd, from something like a pumpkin, something along those lines. B'itron, he clearly explicitly allows itron. We'll have to figure out in the Gemara, why is it that he says you're allowed to use itron? What happens to the Kavod Shabbos issue? It smells terrible. And as well, v'neften, also with that material as well. Rabbi Tarfon Omer, ein madlikin el b'shemen zayis bilvad. You're only allowed to light with shemen zayis. That's a big chumrah. It's the only thing you're allowed to light with shemen zayis. We'll speak about that as well. We're just going to learn the first line of the Gemara here, and then we're going to pick up with Menahani Mili because that sugya is much longer, and I want to have full clarity to be able to go through the whole sugya together. So the Gemara just asks one question: my taima. What is the reason why we are not allowed to light shemen sreifa b'yom tov? Now we already know the answer to this because we learned it, but here's the real Mari Makom. And the Gemara answers, "Lefi she'ein sorfin kachim b'yom tov." The reason why is because we're not allowed to be sorf kachim on Yom Tov. Remember in the previous blot we said that the reason why that was the case was because Gzer Yom Tov atu Shabbos, and on Shabbos we didn't want to do it because we were afraid that you were going to tilt it. And then Rav Chizda argued all of this and came up with this longer answer that we came up with, which is that the matam, just like over there on the Mishnah, on the opening Mishnah in the second parag mentioned that you can't use shemen sreifa. Over there it says it's usher matam because this Mishnah over here says lefi. At least the Gemara explaining this Mishnah says lefi she'ein sorf and kachim b'yom tov. And we will pick up tomorrow night Emir Tzashem with Menahani Mili, about 10, 11, 12 lines from the bottom of Kaf Dalet Amud Beis. Wishing you all a beautiful night.